Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga Show, the Thursday evening edition of the Prediction Show. And as you can see today, making our debut together, actually, it's been long awaited, hasn't it, actually? I'm joined by Ultan over in Ireland. So how are you doing, Ultan?
Yeah, doing the best, getting ready for the festive season now and the kind of final dregs of the German football now for 2025. So we'll enjoy them. A few weeks to go. I'm back to kind of rectify my I would say mixed shouts in last week's show. I was looking over the weekend that they weren't exactly going according to plan, apart from one or two. So we're here to correct all the wrongs of last week.
Yeah, well, I think you did better than Peter's tips in midweek anyway. So yeah, that's one thing anyway.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I think Peter's kind of getting a reputation now, especially with the Champions League ones, that he's always miles off. So yeah, we have a bit of a running joke with him. So yeah, hopefully you can get a few right this week. So.
We've all been there. We have ups and downs. You have to ride them out and get more next time.
Yeah, I think I've had weeks when I've got 0 out of 9 before. So it happens. It happens for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, just before we start, just to remind you that we are in partnership with a Covert Footy Trips, Rich's fantastic travel company over in Norwich in England. You can go basically send you anywhere over Europe. So, if your boyfriend or your partner is a fan of football, or your girlfriend as well, that is, buy one of Rich's fantastic football trips as well. He's been in Italy recently, Georgia. He's here, there, and everywhere. So you've got some great football trips, all planned by Rich. You can just literally get the tickets and turn up on the day, basically. So check out Covert Footy Trips. They're on Instagram. They're on pretty much all social media out there. And also, of course, as Ultan knows well, we're also sponsored by bullynews.com as well, the fantastic English-speaking Bundesliga news website, the best one out there on the market. Ultan knows them well too. We all know them well. Runa's fantastic site. So go and check them out for all of your latest team news and journalism on the Bundesliga. So without further ado, Ultan, we can kick off with what is an interesting fixture on the Friday evening, isn't it, really? It's a kind of East German derby. It's the closest thing we get, really, to an East German derby in the Bundesliga. We've obviously got east of Berlin, Union Berlin. Then we've got RB Leipzig facing off on Friday evening. So go on, Ultan, I'll let you do the honors and give us your tip for that one then.
That's right, yeah. It kind of flies over my head sometimes. You forget that they're kind of the two bastions of the East left in the top flight. I'm not sure they might be the best representatives, but we'll leave that elsewhere. One of them maybe. It should be a really interesting game. It's been a tough few Fridays, I think. Now I've been tuning into a few of the Friday night games, and they've not been the prettiest spectacles to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, I think I was a 0-0 and maybe 2 1-0s. It's all been fairly gritty, but I'm hoping this time it'll be a bit different. And I am going for a big away win. 3-1 to Leipzig is my prediction for this one. I just fancy the way they're kind of motoring at the moment, and Ole Werner's really got them clicking, which is quite incredible, really, because they have a lot of injuries between Oderago out and various other names. Werner, Romulo, maybe Timo Werner mightn't deserve a mention anymore, but Baku, I think, is still struggling, and hopefully Bakayoko might be fit for the weekend. So I would fancy them to just keep the bit between their teeth at the moment and power on and get another win. Union, unfortunately, they're just kind of up and down, aren't they? They go and get big results against some of the best teams and then throw it away against the lesser oppositions. So I can see it following a similar route. Having said that, though, some big teams have struggled at the Altförsterei this year, so it could be interesting if they can drag Leipzig into a bit of a dogfight.
Yeah, considering how bad the Friday night games have been, I wanted to mention that as well. I mean, in the past, we always used to say that the Friday nights were always the best games of the week, but since it changed to the BBC in England, I think it's all gone to pot, basically, with the Friday night games. And also here in Germany as well, they've also changed. It's gone from DAZN to Sky the Friday evening as well. Right, so seems as though the change hasn't quite worked out in that case. Yeah. So considering that, the fact that we've not really had a great Friday night game, I'm probably going to go for a low scorer here, unfortunately. I also fancy Leipzig because they just look so good at the minute. Even since Romelu has got obviously injured, I mean, Harder has been really good. Last week, I thought he had a really good game. They've just got so much quality in that side. And I've got to say that a lot of their signings came really good as well over the summer. You've got to give them credit. I think the likes of Baumgartner, Seiwald have really improved this season as well. And it looks like a really good team. I think since that 6-0 thrashing against Bayern, they've looked like the best team in the league, probably after Bayern, obviously. But they look good to be Vizemeister this season for me. They look the best of the rest after Bayern Munich. So in keeping with the tradition that the Friday night games are normally boring, I'm going to go for a low scorer, but I'm still going to go for a Leipzig win. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 RBL win in this one. So yeah, let's move on to Saturday, where, to be honest, this season the best games have generally come. Actually, the last few Saturday conferences have been a hell of a good watch in the Bundesrepublik. So let's kick off with some of those Halbvier games on Saturday. So we've got obviously Frankfurt Augsburg. I mean, this is an interesting one because if this game was a month ago, you'd have said it's a home banker, really, wouldn't you? But obviously, what we've seen, Manuel Baum coming in to replace the hapless Sandro Wagner, got great results last week, didn't it? It was a really impressive win, impressive performance for the FCA, winning comfortably 2-0 really against Leverkusen. As for Frankfurt, there was actually rumours this week coming out that he's under a bit of pressure, Topmuller, actually. He's, after a really good start, it's just not kicked on, has it? And obviously, injuries to the likes of Chanuzun and, Johnny Burkhardt hasn't exactly helped their cause. But in recent weeks, they've just been really poor, truth be told. I think there was a better defensive performance against Barcelona in midweek, but the league performances have been poor for a while now for me. And I think unless they can sort the striker situation out, obviously Batshuayi and Wahi have both been dreadfully poor since Burkhardt got injured. So I think it's not such an easy game to tip, really, this in many ways. I think, considering the fact there's pressure on Topmuller probably means that he's going to have to go all out, really, and get the win in this game. So the rumour is if he doesn't win, get at least 4-6 points out of these last two of the year, then he could be sacked over the winter. So bearing that in mind, I am going to still go for an SGE win in this one, but I think it'll be relatively tight. So I've gone for a 2-1 Frankfurt win. Ultan?
Yeah, ditto. I've gone for the exact same scoreline for the same reasons, effectively. So we've got our first kind of double pack, you and I together now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think they're just Frankfurt are just so I can only describe them as like bipolar. They're just totally inconsistent. They go from the brilliant one week to the absolutely abysmal the next week, and there's no consistency. It could be score 4 and then concede 4. And I was talking to Runa, my colleague, and I was saying I just really hope that they go out and give a spirited performance against a fairly lethal Barcelona side. And they did, in fairness to them. They had a good game, and bar the little 5-minute blip after halftime, they were quite impressive, I thought, for the most part, against a very tricky side. So if they can take some spirit from that game, I would give them a good chance of winning this one. But having said that, Augsburg were impressive against Leverkusen, and I'll take my floggings for what it's worth. I said Leverkusen against Augsburg will be the most straightforward win of the weekend, and I have to take my punishment when it's deserved. So I'm not going to go and make those outlandish statements against Manuel Baum this time. But I still fancy a sneaky 2-1 win for the hosts here. Although if Augsburg can avail of the left wing again through Dimitros Janulis, and I'd really think that's their route to getting behind Frankfurt this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And just saying hi to Runa as well. Great to see you checking in as well there. Looking forward to your fantasy show tomorrow morning as well there. Let's move on to the next game. It's a Gladbach-Wolfsburg game, which should be quite an interesting one again, because these two teams a few weeks ago looked absolutely dreadful, didn't they? Both of them. But I mean, Gladbach are probably the form team of the entire league with Bayern Munich at the minute. I think over the last 5 games, they picked up 13 points from the last 5, which is incredibly impressive. I think obviously Yevgeny Polanski deserves a lot of credit as well for what he's done. He's still not got the job permanently yet either, has he? So I think, you've got to imagine that if he keeps this going, then he's going to get it permanently over the winter, I would imagine, unless they've got someone bigger lined up behind the scenes. But he's been in the hot seat for 2 months or so now. So I think it'd be a bit harsh to fire him after the improvement that he's got from that team. I think obviously Tabakovic has been a kind of joy really at times, hasn't he, this season? He's really, he was kind of maligned in the press really over the summer when they signed him from Hoffenheim. Everyone was like, what the hell are they doing getting him? Because he was garbage for Hoffenheim last year, wasn't he? But he's done really well, and you've got to give credit to him. Also, the former Nürnberger as well, I've got to keep an eye on him. Jens Kastrop, I've been impressed with him as well. I think he's really settled in well to the club, especially in recent weeks since the form has picked up. In general, they're looking quite good. They're also keeping a few more clean sheets nowadays. I think Moritz Nicolas has really kind of stabilised that goalkeeping position now. So things are looking quite good at Gladbach. As for Wolfsburg, things have slightly improved for them as well. Obviously, 4 points from 2 games since Simonis was fired. They were unlucky not to win at Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago, and then they got a really comfortable win against Union Berlin last week, really, wasn't it? I think if they can keep the likes of Amura playing as well as he did last week, then they're going to have a chance against most teams, truth be told. So it's not an easy one to tip, this one, to be honest, because Wolfsburg have nicked a couple of results away from home this season. I think they won at Hamburg against all odds a few weeks ago, didn't they, as well? But I'm still going to stick with the hosts here. I just feel as though something's brewing at Gladbach at the minute. I would imagine they're going to get Kleindienst back in the coming weeks as well. So I think they're going to get another 2-1 home win here for the Pfalz. What do you think, Ultan?
Yeah, I'm going to follow suit too and back the hosts here. 1-0 for me, though. I think it'd be a game a bit short on goals this time around. But I echo all of your points. I think Gladbach have really stabilised defensively. And like the old saying goes, maybe Gladbach won't be thinking of championships just yet, but defence wins championships. Defence keeps you in the Bundesliga. Yeah. When it's a goal-heavy league. So I do think they'll sneak it. And as you say, Polanski deserves a lot of credit for kind of implementing that 3-4-2-1/1-2 system, and it's clicking for them. Kastrop, as you mentioned, Honrad has been pretty good in back to his creative self really in the last while. And Tabakovic, yeah, you've got to give him his flowers. Not a sign I thought was going to pay out, but ironically, it seems like it's coincided with his form picking up when Kleindienst was nearing the return. So maybe that'll keep him hot for the time being, and hoping to hang on to that number 9 jersey for a while yet. Wolfsburg, I don't know. Looking at them last weekend, they won 3-1 against Union, and you can't take that away from them. Points are points, and they're on the table. But 3 goals and 3 shots on target, and 45% possession. I think that's what you'd call a lucky punch in a way. And Union probably lack that attacking output. Maybe, respond from having such an early setback to lead by going down 2-0. So I would kind of put that more on the fixture rather than Wolfsburg being out of the woods just yet. But they have a chance. As you said, Amora is the key to their success. And if they keep him and maybe Patrick Wimmer motoring nicely together, they have a pretty menacing attack.
Yeah, definitely. It would be quite ironic if Tabakovic started to keep Kleindienst out of the team when he returns, wouldn't it? That would be the turnaround of the century, I think. I
was wondering, would they go for the kind of contemporary 2 men up top, kind of Brexit football now with Kleindienst? The way everyone talks about it.
Exactly. Lump it up to the big man and let Tabakovic finish it. Yeah. Like Crouch Defoe style almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tevez, Morata, Villanueva or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be quite interesting to follow, really. But anyway, to another interesting game. I mean, it's a true 6-pointer, as we mentioned in the headline for this one. It is a basement battle. It's a 6-pointer. Just about every relegation-related cliche that the likes of Paul Merson have ever come out with. This one, isn't it? Really, it's a true kind of relegation 6-pointer. But let's give a bit of credit as well to Heidenheim. They have won the last 2 games as well. Incredibly, I mean, both with last-minute winners, like literally last kick of the game winners, both of them. From Schimmer. No, Schimmer got the equalizer last week, and then 2 weeks ago, and then the winner last week, didn't he? So
yeah, I think you're right. And then Schoppner got another one. Got maybe the winner or something. Yeah.
So it's been a miracle run, really, for them, because I don't think most people thought Heidenheim would win 2 games all season, let alone 2 games in 2 weeks. Most people had pretty low expectations of them coming into the season after being very lucky to stay up last year, let's be honest, really. But yeah, they come into this in good form. Sadly for Pauli, they don't come into this in good form. They were very lucky to avoid a kind of unprecedented 10th straight league defeat last week against a Cologne side who battered them basically for 90 minutes. And another former English league player as well, Ricky J. Jones, banged in a leveler right with the last kick of the game, and just about the only shot that Pauli had in the entire game. Really.
It's quite the name, isn't it? It's kind
it
of
is
like
Ricky J. Jones. I mean, we kind of ripped into him a bit on this channel at the beginning of the season. We were like, if that's your best sign of the season, then it's not going to go down too well. Yeah. But anyway, he started well. Like, he got injured early on, didn't he? And then he scored on his, I think, full debut as well there. So credit to him, really. It was a good header as well. Fantastic. So you've got to give some credit there. But as for this game, it's really a hard one to tip, because I think both teams have got to go out and try and win it, especially Pauli. I mean, they've got to go out and try and win this game. For me, a point is not enough. For Heidenheim, they would take a point, but given the form that they're on, they won't get a better chance to win a game, I guess, this season. So, a win would really put them in touch with that kind of chasing pack that are around about just above the relegation zone at the minute. So I definitely think there's a chance that the FCH can get a win here. I'm really torn where to go in this one, but I've actually gone for a Pauli win because I just feel as though Heidenheim, they can't keep getting these last-minute winners, And as good as they were last week, and they really were quite good against Freiburg, it was a better performance than the one against Union 2 weeks ago. But I just feel as though the luck's going to run out here, and we're going to get a 2-0 Pauli win here. What do you think, Ultan?
Yeah, I similar to you. I kind of bounced around. Beforehand, I always kind of like to look at the fixtures and kind of weigh up what I really think how it's gonna unfold. And this time, the scoreboard bounced from Pauli to Heidenheim back to the middle. So when you're doing that, I kind of decided to sit in the fence, and I've gone for a 1-1. And I am going to back the Heidenheim 90th minute plus show once again. But it pains me to use comparisons to other leagues, but they do kind of strike you as that kind of Liverpool-esque start of the season where they're grabbing goals late and 90 minutes and stuff. Like you can only live on that for so long, It's a very finite resource. So I do think the time has to come. Maybe it's the Christmas spirit or something that Schmidt is instilling in his players, but it's doing the job so far. St. Pauli, I think I was chatting about this with Rory last week on the prediction show. Haven't had a win since mid-September, which is incredibly hard to believe, but true. So I don't feel too much confidence, and that kind of sucker punch on Gladbach in the cup gave them a little bit of a lift, in fairness, and they battled that point in Köln, which was important. But Heidenheim seem to be kind of the team that are riding the wave, whereas St. Pauli are kind of just about keeping their head above water for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a good tip. It's a sensible tip, that one. But it's going to be one that a lot of people are keeping their eye on this week, because I think it's going to be a huge game in the relegation dogfight, really, this one, especially just before Christmas as well. It feels like, it's going to be freezing cold in Hamburg for that one, I'm pretty sure, as well. So definitely. It's going to be a big game, that one. So, yeah, let's move on. A game between, we often talk about this, like company clubs and tradition clubs. It doesn't get much bigger than a bigger contrast in this one, really. Hoffenheim, Hamburg, does it? I mean, this should be a good one. I'm going to let you lead out on this one, Ultan.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. You kind of have two teams coming off different highs, where Hoffenheim have been quite a force away from home for so long, but obviously kind of got outfoxed by Dortmund last Sunday, which probably lowers their kind of mood ever so slightly, but at the same time they're having a fantastic season, so they shouldn't really let that take them down too many pegs on the ladder, kind of. Whereas HSV have been straight off the back of a first win in the Nord Derby, and I think since around April 2016 at home. So that's sure to be a serious boost, and really put the wind in their sails. So you'd imagine they'll be arriving in Sinsheim with a bit of a pep in their step. But for that reason, I find it a hard game to call. Again, I kind of flip-flopped over and back. I have stuck with a Hoffenheim 2-1 win, which seems a bit... I'm not happy with it, if that makes sense. How can you not be happy with the prediction, I hear you ask? But this game, I feel, could really go anyway. It could be a draw. Highest Val could sneak it. It's unpredictable, I would say, but certainly there's something to say for winning a big derby game and going into it and kind of feeling fresh and energized by it.
Yeah, it is a tough one to tick. I just feel as though HSV now they've finally kind of arrived in the Bundesliga with these last 2 weeks. I feel as though the win against Stuttgart as well was equally impressive, and then I felt as though it was their best performance of the season last week against Werder. They created so many chances in that game. They scored some good goals, and that's probably what they've lacked. I think in the first probably 10 games they were compact, but not very good to watch at times. But I feel as though the last 2 games, they've added a bit of attacking quality to the play. And I think Fabio Vieira has shown up as well, hadn't he, recently, which is big. I think the fact they've dropped Königsdörfer helps as well, because I'm not a fan of him, to be honest. No. I think Poulsen, it was great to see him get a winner as well last week. They've got other good players in the team as well. Capaldo is a player that I like, and they're starting to look like a decent team. Vuskovic as well at the back looks like a real prospect for the future as well. So it's going to be interesting. And I've actually gone for my kind of first big shot this week, actually, with this one. I've got a feeling that the HSV, as I say, they're really building something now under Rhineland Pfalz, and they've got a chance to go and win this game. I would imagine half the stadium would be HSV fans as well for this one. They're going to absolutely... I read some news in midweek saying that they basically sold the stadium empty, effectively. There's going to be absolutely tons of HSV fans from all over Germany at the game for this one. I wouldn't even be surprised if they outnumber TSG fans, to be honest, in this one. So that's going to help them a lot. So I've gone for a big result. I've gone for a 2-1 HSV win. And it is a big tip, this one, because I think TSG are a good team overall. But I was a little bit underwhelmed by them last week, and I feel as though Ilzer has gone the wrong direction tactically a little bit. I feel as though they were better when they had Aslani starting up top alongside Lemperle, but I don't understand why he's gone with Toure and moved him more into an attacking position, in a striking position. I felt as though they've not been quite as good the last couple of games for me since they changed that system. So he might possibly change back and they might look great again, but I'm still going to stick with my highest foul win tip, because something's building there, and I feel as though they're going to go on and have a good season now after the last couple of results. So yeah, let's move on to the Topspiel, and it's a derby as well, or a derby, as the Germans would say. It's Leverkusen Köln, which is technically, it's kind of like, I mean, Leverkusen is more or less like a suburb of Köln, really. It's like very, very close to the city. It's only, I think, less than 5-10 miles away from the borders of Cologne. So it is a derby, and these two sides don't like each other either, because I think Cologne are the bigger club. They see Leverkusen as being, just a money-pushing club and things like that. And obviously they have this scandal with Florian Wirtz as well, because let's not forget that Wirtz was on Cologne's books originally too, before being technically poached by Leverkusen. So there's a lot of bad blood between these two teams, specifically felt by the Cologne fans. So it should be a good game, this one. As for Leverkusen, it's just been a weird season for them in many ways, because they've had some outstanding results, like the win over Man City at the Etihad was like mind-blowingly good, really. And then obviously they followed that up with a win at Dortmund in the Pokal. I'm sure you won't be too happy about that one all the time, but sorry to bring that one up. But it was still a backs to the wall. It was a good win for them in the Pokal. But then in the league, they've been woeful really recently. They lost to Dortmund at home. They lost to Augsburg. They were quite good against Newcastle as well. I thought that was a good game last night. Both sides could have gone on to win that one, in truth. So it's hard to know what Leverkusen is going to show up for this one. As for Köln, obviously, as a newly promoted team, you've got to be a little bit realistic for what they can achieve. They've kind of fallen off a little bit from that really strong start, but they should have beaten Pauli. That's going to be one that slipped away for them last week. They should have got the win over Pauli. They'd have been on 18 points and going quite well, really. But I'm still going to stick with the Bayern Null Funfers in this one. I just feel as though there's a little bit too much quality. Bayer Leverkusen rarely go and lose like 3-4 games in a row in the league. So I think they'll bounce back and win this one 3-1 all time.
Yeah, once again, we match up again. I've gone for 2-1 as it goes, but pretty much echoing all your points once again. It's a derby game. It's bound to be close. I think this game is often a battle. I think the last time I remember it was an early red card for Cologne, and it was a 2-0 win when Xabi Alonso was in charge. Now this has gone a while back, but it was a really gritty game, and Cologne got that early red card, and they just sat in, and even if they weren't going to win it, they were going to make it ugly. And that's what happened to be the best Leverkusen team probably of all time. So rightfully so to do that. I agree. I think Cologne are in their toughest patch of the season rather. I think they're about 5 without a win now, which certainly isn't bad because it's not like they've lost all 5. It's more the fact that, as you said, they've lost from winning positions and kind of conceded softer goals, and probably a bit of tiredness coming into a squad that probably hasn't played at this level throughout. Not to diminish the Zweite Liga, which is very tasking in its own right, but it's a different ball game now. But I think it'll be tight. I wouldn't be surprised if it ended in a draw, and I do think Leverkusen have kind of blown hot and cold. But I could picture it being like a gritty kind of game, maybe a free kick from Grimaldo settling it, that kind of thing. You know, lots of set pieces, bit of physicality. It should be a really interesting game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to Sunday in a game that's going to be close to your heart, Ultan. So I'll let you lead out on the SC Freiburg Dortmund game.
Yeah, it's not every week. It just changes. You can love talking about Dortmund sometimes, and the other times you just want to, as I said to Rory last week, go back to the highs of international football and enjoy Troy Parrott's goals again for the 1800th time on social media. No, it's a tricky little game. This I was at this fixture actually last year in Breisgau. It was a beautiful stadium and just a great 4-1 win away when Kovac football was really in its pomp. It's not really there at the moment, but I don't think that blame entirely falls on him. I do think an element of it is complacency within the squad and players probably not pulling their weight. So that would be a bit of a cause for concern, I think, from a BVB point of view. Freiburg, they had a brilliant November. I think 1 loss to Bayern, a couple of draws and 4 wins in all competitions. And it just seemed like they had a really unideal start to December with that kind of late loss to Heidenheim, which I'm sure will dent their confidence a bit. But they have home comforts, I suppose, this weekend, which gives them a little boost. And Manzambi has been really impressive, which is always someone you can rely on. He seems to be really garnering a lot of attention from Europe and the Bundesliga. I've seen Leverkusen linked with him. I think PSG have been, and Napoli. So his quality is there for all to see. And Dortmund, it depends. There's obviously a bit of frustration in the camp. You've seen Schlotterbeck's outburst there last night. It doesn't really bode well for the overall kind of squad going into the last 2 games of 2025. And the injuries too, you have to mention that Anton and Salmino have taken blows, and I think Sabitzer has a bit of a calf or thigh problem too, which Kovac referenced in his press conference today. But after all that, I do think I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Dortmund. This is not me coming out and just trying to will the good result in. Usually I like to go for a bit of reversed psychology. But they've been relatively consistent in the league for a while now, even against better teams like Freiburg. And it mightn't be pretty, but they can usually kind of muscle their way to a bit of a win, even if it is away from home.
Yeah, I mean, there have been quite a few reverse psychology results for Dortmund this season, haven't there? Like the one at Leverkusen the other week, where you would probably say Leverkusen had most of the game, but Dortmund managed to nick it. And the one I was at as well against Augsburg, that was a nothing game. Basically, the entire 90 minutes, nothing happened, but Dortmund still managed to get a 1-0 win somehow in that one. And I think, as you say, for me, the Kovac football isn't as good as it was last season when it was in its real pomp. But at times, they look like a great side at the back end of last season. I think this season it's been more like turgid at times, which is quite weird for a Dortmund team because we're used to them scoring tons of goals, conceding almost as many at times as well. But this year it's been more defensive stability. Obviously, a lot of that due to the excellence of Schlotterbeck. But also it's been going forward, not that great at times, but still enough to win games, hasn't it? And obviously the talk this week as well about Guirassy maybe leaving as well, which is for me, I'm a little bit shocked about that, because even though he's not had as good a season as last year, he is a natural goal scorer for me. And you don't always find them. You can go and sign someone else for 30, 40 million and he's not going to be as good, So the game we saw against Augsburg, like, he just found the back of the net. He had one chance in the game and he finished it, basically. And that shows that, for me, they still have to see through this kind of bad patch he's going through. And I think he will come through the other side and go on to be that great striker he always has been, really. But as for this game, it's a tough one, because, again, Freiburg, they've been quite good in general. They've had 2 defeats from leading positions in the league in recent weeks. So the Bayern one, they were 2-0 up. I mean, anyone can have a collapse against Bayern, but I think the fact they were 2-0 up shows the mettle of the team, really, because not many teams go 2-0 up on this Bayern side, let's be honest. So they did end up losing, 5 or 6-2, but still, it was a good performance for especially the first half, really, in that one. Last week, I don't think they played badly against Heidenheim. I think they ran into Heidenheim's best performance of the season. I think Heidenheim were just on it last week. They also had chances to win the game as well, Freiburg, but it wasn't to be. They're normally quite strong at the Europa Park Stadion, aren't they? I mean, it's a great little ground. The fans really get behind them there. But I think in recent years, this fixture has always been a good one for Dortmund, hasn't it? It seems as though Dortmund have put some pretty heavy results past Freiburg, at least the last 2-3 seasons. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Dortmund, but as it's been for a lot of this season, I can see them just grinding out the result here for what will be another impressive win in the league.
You get the sense that the first goal will be quite important in this game, I think, for either team. As you said, they're both kind of lacking the kind of bite up front at times, and I think that seems to be the kind of storyline of Dortmund's games lately. That maybe with the exception of Europe, the first goal is quite influential. Yeah,
definitely. But it should be a good game. It's going to be a good curtain raiser for the triple header on Sunday. The second game we'll talk about now, which is Bayern versus Mainz. I mean, it's literally a top versus bottom fixture, this one. And I think Urs Fischer is going to be having nightmares ahead of this one, really, isn't he? It's not the kind of fixture. Obviously, I think he is managing the team at Lech Poznan tonight as we speak. But, I mean, it's his first league assignment at the Allianz Arena against probably one of the best teams in Europe right now. His team can barely even create chances, let alone score goals right now, with a very, very under-firing strike force. The likes of Viper, Hollerbach, even Lee at times this season, they've just not done it, have they? Which is why Mainz Null Funfers are currently bottom of the league. It's hard to tip anything other than a heavy Bayern win, to be honest here. I think if Mainz can get a goal, then it's a big positive for them, because, I mean, they've really struggled to score goals recently. But I am going to give them a goal, but I'm still going to go for a 4-1 Bayern win here, Ultan.
Yeah, I've kind of followed up on that. I'm going to go one worse. I'm going to go 5-0. So it's tough. You make a good point, though. Urs Fischer's come in. I just had a quick glance at Mainz's game that's going on at the moment in Poland against Lech Poznan, and they're actually 1-0 up. So, and I have always been a big fan of Urs. I do think he's quite talented at getting a lot from kind of a lesser squad. He's pretty good at making kind of defensively resilient, and you could see Mainz frustrate them. I mean, over the last few years, they've done pretty well against Bayern at the Mayweather Arena. And stranger things have happened. Like, I always remember a couple of years back when Union were top of the league, and I went to see a Bochum game, and Bochum were at the basement, and they kind of sprung a 2-1 win on them. Now, a very different team to Bayern Munich, Union, but stranger things have happened, as they say. But I do think the best news for Mainz really is that Luis Diaz is suspended. I don't think as good as it gets, maybe, as a Mainzer this weekend. I just don't hold up too much faith. I think they've just been pretty much no attacking output. I think Paul Neville is still suspended after a second red card of the season for a few more games, and you can't really see where they're going to get goals from. Hollerbach just hasn't really clicked at all, and maybe Lee or something, someone might pop up with an odd goal if you're lucky, but beyond that, I think it's hard to see past a thumping and probably something like a Harry Kane hat-trick as he often obliges.
Yeah, probably another Lupenreiner as well, let's be honest. Yeah. But he's no Troy Parrott, let's be honest.
No.
You
don't get in the same way.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let's go to the final game of the weekend. So it's probably one of the more interesting looking ones as well. Werder Bremen, Stuttgart. I think this is a nice looking fixture. Two good tradition clubs in Germany, big followings. Be a great atmosphere as well as the 7:30 kickoff. Sure, there'll be a lot of pyro, choreos, and stuff like that at that one. Yeah, I mean, go on. I'll let you lead out on this one because I have no idea what's going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah. I struggled with this one too. I tried to break it down in a few ways. Obviously, Stuttgart have had a great win tonight against Maccabi Tel Aviv, I think 4-1. And looking at the squad beforehand, I didn't follow the game, but I think only Mittelstadt, Stiller, and Undav were kind of the main players that would play week in, week out at the moment, and they managed to get a couple of rests, the likes of Ilkanus and whatnot, which I think is kind of important. But Honus always seems to keep them a very fit side and a hungry side, so that's probably worked out in his favour there. They should be kind of fresh, and I do think Ilkanus is pretty vital to their attack at the moment. So the fact that he got a good rest tonight probably lends to favour them a little bit. Bremen, God, it's tough to bounce back from such a big defeat, and the fact that they led and kind of gave away the game quite easily, I would say. They were really exposed on the counter and simply just couldn't handle HSV with the direct play they had. And as you mentioned earlier, Hamburg were really, really impressive going forward, and you'd wonder, is it how impressive they were or how poor Bremen were? Because there's sometimes they're just shooting out of the defensive line and trying to put in wild tackles and missing, Sunday league stuff almost, which is a bit worrying. I do think their midfield holds a lot of power as well, like Romano Schmid, Senelin, and Stage have been quite impressive, and they seem to be kind of the fulcrum of that team. So if any joy comes from there, I think it'll be them. Their attack hasn't really clicked, and Mangula's been kind of impressive, but I think Top and Boniface just haven't really offered enough to hold the ball up and bring the midfielders into the game, who seem to have the greater chance of scoring, ironically. So yeah, for that reason, I just think it's going to be a thriller. I'm going to go out there and say a 2-2 draw. I don't know why. I just have this sense of it being a bit of a wild game that'll go end to end and could end in a draw.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Bremen, the strength is the midfield. Like Jens Stage is just he's a luxury player, really, with a midfielder that scores that many goals is just crazy, especially for a mid-table team as well. I mean, he got, 12 or 13 in the league last year. He's already on like 5 or 6 this year as well, which is just, I mean, I remember when he started scoring those goals and everyone thought it was just a bit of a phase really for him, but he's just carried on going and it's got better and better for him, hasn't it? So he's really become a great attacking midfielder. And then I think obviously Romano Schmid as well. He's the true playmaker of that team. And I thought he had a really good game against Hamburg last week. He was unlucky to be on the losing side in that one. Yeah. But as you say, they have issues with strikers. We all thought it was going to be Victor Boniface, kind of the return of the Boniface, didn't we? But it's just not, it's anything but happened. And it's gone on to be one of the biggest transfer busts I can remember in recent years, to be honest, that one. Yeah, the poor guy's just had a mare, effectively.
It seems like it's been ever since that the bust-up he had with Buendia at Leverkusen. Yeah. It's just a constant slide, and it's quite upsetting. I have to say I had a good time from him. I know he maybe has a bit of an arrogant streak, but you wouldn't mind that in a striker, and shame that it's just gone so poorly for him.
Yeah, I mean, when he was at his best, he was a top quality striker. He really was in the kind of the treble winnings, the double winning season, and then obviously the Europa League final as well. Like, he was so good that year. He really was. He kept Paddy Schick out of the team for a lot of that year as well, didn't he? And yeah, I thought he was brilliant, but it's just not worked out for him, which is a problem because the likes of Kiki Top, it's just, and Marco Gruhl has the odd good game, but they're really missing a striker there at the minute that's really competent. They've not replaced Dutch at all, really, truth be told. And as you say, they do make defensive errors too. I think Friedel wasn't great last week. Koulibaly is going to be good, but he's still a little bit fresh at the minute, and he makes mistakes at the back. As for Stuttgart, they're another one of those teams that are suffering from a fixture pile-up. I think they played the last 3 midweeks. they're still in the Pokal. They got that win over Bochum a few weeks ago as well. They've got too many games, really. Bundesliga squads aren't really cut out for like playing every midweek. Most teams are kind of just about getting by in the league games in terms of, if you get a few injuries, you're bringing in youngsters basically. So I think Stuttgart are struggling with injuries and just but it is good they've got Undav back. Undav is just so key to that team. He is their main man. He's the goal scorer. And I think since he's come back in, they have started to score more goals as well. I think El Canus is a player I like as well, but he's been a little bit off form in recent weeks. So they need to get him back on the top level again. But do you know what? I'm going to go for a 3-2 Bremen win in this one. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a good game. I think two attacking teams that are better playing on the front foot, really. So there should be chances in the game. It's just whether teams can finish them. And, if Kiki Top's the best they could pull out, then I'm not sure they will get 3 goals. But I'm going to go for a double from Jens Stage and a Romano Schmid free kick or something like that. So
sounds good.
It should be a good game to finish off the weekend anyway. So if you enjoyed what you saw today on these predictions, and remember to subscribe to our channel, like the content as well, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you can see all of our future shows. Don't forget as well to find us on social media, on just about every social media, to X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and whatever else they've got coming out on social media. So thanks a lot to Ultan as well. It was a pleasure, and stick your money on our tips this weekend, and we'll make you rich people. We can guarantee it.
You can frame the docket when you're done.
Just don't blame us if it goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were never here.
Exactly, that is true. Yeah, but thanks a lot, Ultan. I'm sure we'll do a lot more shows in the future as well. Remember, the next show is coming up tomorrow morning as well with Rory and Runa for the fantasy show ahead of Matchweek 14. So thank you very much again, guys, and we'll see you again tomorrow for the fantasy show. So see you then, guys. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.